beautiful soul. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Emily, also known as Emily the Mystic, and you, my friend, are here for a video today that's all about spirituality and soul-aligned friendships. I'm so excited to talk about this topic because it's a big one. Honestly, I could create a whole series of videos on this. It's going to be a general overview about you as a spiritual being and how you can show up more authentically in all of your friendships and your communities and your intimate groups and connections and with the people that you are aligned with. And so my goal for you for this video, whether you are brand new to your spiritual journey or you've been on the spiritual path for some time now, is to really think about all of the friendships that you have and how you can decide which of your friendships are soul aligned and which are ones that perhaps need less of your time and energy, so that you can feel like you are really showing up authentically in all places and spaces in your life, that you're spending your time with people who are honoring your time and energy, and also so that you can start to feel seen and heard and understood in all of your friendships. Specifically, I'm going to make another video about showing up with authentically as yourself within your romantic partnerships. But this video in particular is focused on friendship because it's a topic that's been coming up for a lot of my private clients recently. So if it's coming up for them, it's definitely coming up for you. Maybe you've been thinking a lot about your friendships. Maybe you've been noticing major, massive shifts within your communities, within your friend groups. Perhaps you really feel like you're shifting and changing. You're seeing people within your life fall away. Maybe there are new people coming in. Maybe you're still in a little bit of that in-between state where old friendships have fallen away and the new ones haven't quite come in yet. So maybe you're feeling a little lonely right now and are wondering how to attract more soul-aligned friendships into your life. Don't worry, we're going to touch on all of those above topics and more so that you can create really authentic, joyful relationships, friendships within your life. So I'm really excited to dive on into it today because this has definitely been a big focus for me personally on my own journey as well. And I have been through so many different phases of the journey with seeing new people come into my life, older friendships falling away, and all of the feelings and emotions that can really get stirred up from all of that. I would highly recommend, if you haven't watched it yet, that you go check out my video called Coming Out of the Spiritual Closet. It's an older video, but it details my story of how when I first started my spiritual journey, how I shared that part of my life with the most important people in my life. So if that's where you're at right now, I definitely would recommend that you watch that video because it will give you a lot of helpful guidance and my perspective on really coming out to all of the people in your life about your spiritual nature. And this video is also going to give you some really helpful tips and tricks for finding yourself within your friendships and for figuring out which friendships do really feel soul aligned and which ones do not. So, I first of all want to preface this video by telling those of you who right now, if you are feeling especially lonely on your spiritual journey, if you are watching this thinking, I don't have anybody in my corner, I don't have any spiritual friends at all, perhaps you're brand new to this, or even if you've been on your spiritual journey for a while and are still really feeling that loneliness, I see you. I feel you. I have been there. I know what it feels like to feel like an outsider in so many different areas of your life. So you, my friend, are my friend. And I want you to feel my energy coming through this video to know that this is a safe space for you. It's a safe space for you to connect with me, to connect with others. If you're feeling that way, if you're feeling really alone and lost and like, I don't have my tribe, I don't have my people, I don't have my soul family around me right now, comment below so that we can connect with you and get to know you, and so that you can start to feel like you have a group of people who can help lift you up and who can be perhaps a little bit of a support system for you. And I'll get to this, my story around this a little bit later on, but I have met some really amazing friendships, both in-person friendships and virtual friendships through online platforms like this. I kid you not. So you never know who you can meet on here or on any other YouTube video, Instagram post, just by commenting and letting people know who you are, that you exist. We want to see you. We want to support you. We want to love you up. And we can only do that if we know that you're there. So make sure that you let us know that you're feeling that way so we can help lift you up and support you. And the other thing I want to say on that topic is there are going to be times for all of us on our journeys that are going to feel more inwardly focused. There are going to be times when we're really focused on our own internal growth and our own healing. And those times may feel like a little bit of a hibernation where you're really focusing on yourself. Maybe you're working with a therapist or a coach or a spiritual practitioner. You're spending a lot of time reading or listening to podcasts, really focusing on your own growth. And you're not really feeling like you have that community or that tribe or people to spend time with. And that's okay. So if you are in that inwardly focused season of your journey, you will in time start to feel ready to kind of come out of that hibernation state, to start to connect with people again, to start to put yourself out there again. It will come, but give yourself patience, give yourself time for that. You will know when you are ready, and it doesn't have to be today. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. It doesn't even have to be next week or next month. However, make sure that you are giving yourself a little bit of a push if you've sort of been in that hibernation phase for years now, or months and months and months, and you really haven't been able to come out of that yet. Again, comment on this video so that we can love you up and you can feel seen and heard and appreciated. And again, you'll know when you're ready to really come out of that phase of inwardly focused healing. So thank you for being present for this video, and with friendships in mind, I want you to know, it's really important that you know, that the ultimate goal for all of our relationships, whether that be friendships or family or romantic partnerships, family can be really, really tricky. This may not necessarily be possible depending on your family systems and situations that you have in your life. But the goal for all of our relationships is ultimately for us to feel seen, comfortable, and confident showing up as our true, authentic selves. It's the goal for you to be able to show up as your true self wherever you go in life, right? That's really the goal that we're working through with our healing journeys, is to help us feel safe being our true selves. So within all of your friendships is such a great test of this, is can I show up as my true authentic self within my friendships? So when you're first starting your spiritual journey, that in and of itself can feel really uncomfortable, because you've perhaps learned a lot of new things about yourself while going throughout your spiritual awakening journey, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't relate to my friendships the way that I used to. I don't feel like I relate to the people in my life anymore. I don't even know how to show up in those relationships at all. I don't even know what it looks like to show up as my most true, authentic self within some of those friendships and connections. Now, if you're just starting out on your journey, this piece can feel really uncomfortable because there's a part of us that feels like we have to convince people, convert people, or get people on our side when it comes to spirituality. We feel like we need to prove ourselves, prove our beliefs, and convince people of our beliefs in order to be able to be present within that relationship. I'm going to let you know now, energetically, that we need to let that part of ourselves go, because it is not our job to convince people or convert people to our spiritual ways of being and our spiritual belief systems. So, within your friendships and your relationships, you may not be aware of it, but regardless of where you've come from on your spiritual journey, you just showing up in that relationship is you showing up in an authentic way. And when you are in that place and space, and here's where it relates to energetic vibration, by the way, our vibration throughout our entire life is shifting and changing depending on what we are going through in our life. So when we are in grade school and high school and then college, we had the privilege to be able to go to college, our vibration in all of those different stages of our life was different. And when our vibration is different, we attract different types of people into our life. We're showing up as our authentic self in that moment based on our vibration at that point in time. And then as our vibration shifts and changes, we attract new people or old people fall away. It's no different with your spiritual journey. Your vibration has gone through a massive up-leveling, and so therefore you are just going to show up energetically different within your relationships, within your friendships, within your communities already. So there's nothing that you need to do per se when it comes to your relationships except show up how you are in this moment. Your vibration does the talking, right? And the way that I like to look at it is to lead by example for the people in your life, within your friendships. What do I mean by that? I mean by showing up as your authentic self right now in this moment. There's nothing special you have to say or do, but by showing up as your authentic self, maybe you've done a lot of healing, you've experienced a lot, your consciousness is really expanded as a result of the spiritual awakening journey. People are going to notice an energetic shift within you. They may not consciously understand what that means, but they're going to sense that you're so much happier. They're going to pick up on that you're so much more open. Maybe you're more vulnerable than you ever have been. They're going to pick up on that you're feeling so much more aligned to things in your life. And depending on what stage your friend is in, they are either going to resonate with that or not. Some of your friends who are picking up unconsciously on this shift in your vibration are going to get really triggered by you and all of the light that you're carrying now within your vibration, within your energetic field. They're not conscious that you have had, because of your spiritual awakening and the uplifting of your vibration, that your energetic field is carrying so much more light. But they may get triggered by you because they see that you're showing up in this different way. Maybe you're not complaining as much as you used to. Maybe you're not as unhappy as you used to be. Maybe the two of you used to relate a lot on complaining about your problems or talking about specific things that used to be hobbies of yours that really aren't anymore. And so your friends potentially may get triggered by you and the way that you're showing up. So know to look out for that, and know that if your friends are getting triggered in your presence, that is not your fault at all. And some of those friendships may naturally start to fade away and fall away. It could, however, trigger your friends into a new stage of their own growth, where they're like, oh my gosh, Emily is really happy and seems like things are going really well for her. I feel like this is a good push for me to start working with a therapist that will really help me navigate things that I've been through in the past, similar to what Emily has done, just like as a random example. So leading by example, by just showing up as you, who you are right now, right in this moment, within your friendships, is either going to help people move forward on their journey and connect to you even more deeply or not. Again, the people who are triggered, it could push them into a new stage of growth, or they could end up falling away. And don't take it personally if they do. If your friends are having trouble relating to you now, again, I know that can feel lonely, but the friendships that do end up falling away will create space for new relationships and new friendships to ultimately come in. And we're going to talk about how that can happen in a little bit later on in this video. Now, within all of your friendships, I want you to think and feel into them energetically for a moment. Just feel into all of your friendships. And I want you to ask yourself these questions. Do I feel safe within this friendship? Let's let a specific person come to your mind right now. Do I feel safe in this friendship? That's number one. It's either going to be a yes or a no. If it's a no, we want to let that friendship go immediately. The next question you want to ask is, does this friendship make me feel good? Does it make me feel good here, joyful to show up in this relationship? Maybe there are tough times, tough conversations, but overall, over the course of your however many years or months you've known this person, do you feel good in this relationship? Next, do you feel like there's an equal give and take, an interdependent connection between you and this friendship? Do you feel like the amount of time that you pour into them, perhaps listening to them on the phone or picking out gifts for their birthday or coming to their event that they're hosting in the local community, do you feel like they're doing the same thing for you? Are they giving you the time and the listening ear? Are they treating you to a special birthday meal? I'm just coming up with random examples. Are they supporting you with your big work project that you have coming up? And it doesn't have to be, we're not keeping score with these things, but do we energetically sense that there is an equal give and take? Or do you feel like this friendship is draining you of your time, draining you of your energy? Do you feel exhausted after being with this person? Do you feel like it's a huge waste of your time? Do you come out of your interactions with this person feeling worse than you do going into them? That's a big indicator that that person's just in a lower vibrational space than you are, and you're picking up on that. They may also have some energetic vampire tendencies where they pull and tug on your energy and other people in your life. In their life. And I guarantee you, watching this video, you are an empath, you're super sensitive to energy, so you're going to naturally pick up on these things more so than other people will. So if you feel like that represents somebody in your life, you may want to set boundaries with that person by spending less time with them, perhaps telling them that you only have a certain amount of time that you can talk on the phone, or that you have a certain window of time during your day to get lunch with them. Or setting boundaries with the things that you talk about by saying, oh, I don't feel comfortable having that conversation today. I just don't have the bandwidth for it. Setting boundaries with people like that will really help to keep you sane. And if it feels like such a drain of your time and energy, it may be time for you to slowly let that relationship go. Now, we don't, and I feel like Instagram and TikTok therapy culture has created and put this idea in people's minds that we have to have these like breakup conversations with our friendships. We really don't. We don't need to go to our friend and say, you know what, this friendship is not a good use of my time, and I thank you for all the lessons I've learned from you, and I'm choosing to let this friendship go. That's really rejecting to your friend. You don't need to do that. So if you are considering letting a friendship go, let it fall away naturally by communicating to this person that you are busy when they try to hang out with you, or by just being less available to them in their time. And over time, your vibration will shift so much that this person may not even be able to come along for the ride with you. So again, it doesn't need to be a specific conversation of letting the friendship go. It can just naturally fall away with time. And finally, the last question to ask within your friendships is, do I feel seen and understood in this friendship? Perhaps you feel like you have to put on a mask or a persona or show up in a really inauthentic way. Maybe you have to show up as an old version of you, and that's not feeling comfortable anymore. So really kind of evaluating within all of your friendships, which ones really mean the most to me? Which ones make me feel joyful being part of them? Which ones really make me feel seen and understood? And unfortunately, when you evaluate all of your friendships, it's possible that there may only be a handful or less than that who you are able to answer yes to all of those questions. So if that is the case, great, because we can pour more of our time and energy into those relationships that really make us feel good, and we can pull back on the ones and set boundaries with the ones that aren't making us feel good, that are making us feel icky. You, my friend, are more sensitive than you know. So you are right, and you always prove yourself right when you are sensing into the energy between you and somebody else in your life, right? So if you're sensing an icky, kind of unclean energy with somebody in your life, that's because there is an icky, unclean energy. That could be due to an uneven give and take of energetic exchange with that person. That could be because they are projecting their feelings and emotions onto you within the relationship, or the other way around. And that's a whole other conversation that we don't have the time and space for in this video. But if the energy exchange is feeling icky and unclean, is that the cause for a conversation about how you are feeling in the friendship, or is that an opportunity to let that friendship fade away? And only you are going to know the answer to that. It is 100% also important to note that having these conversations with our friends about how we feel within the relationship is also an important piece of the process. Having conversations such as, I feel like I am not always receiving a lot in return in this friendship dynamic, or I feel like I'm having a hard time sharing what's on my heart because it seems like we're always talking about you within this dynamic. Now, with those conversations, you want to approach them in a way that is kind towards the person. We don't want to be mean, outwardly mean, or victimize anybody. But it's still important for you to communicate to the people in your life how those friendships and connections are making you feel, and to go from there. However, like I've said before and throughout this video, your vibration ultimately does the talking, and you'll be able to sense which friendships and connections are worth the conversations and which ones just aren't. Which ones, you know, the other person's not going to get it, they're not going to hear you, they're not going to be able to listen, they're totally closed off, they have a ton of walls up. Those are the ones that are, again, not going to be worth your time and energy. So let's talk a little bit about something that I see coming up for my clients a lot when it comes to friendships. It can be really tempting to hold on to friendships where there are common spiritual interests. So let's say that you found a friendship, or you have a friendship with somebody who's been in your life for a long time, and they love Reiki healing like you do. They love oracle cards like you do. They get spirituality. But you don't feel like you're able to show up as your most authentic self in the connection. Perhaps you feel like that person drains your time and energy. Perhaps you feel like that person is kind of triggered when they're spending time with you. Perhaps you feel uncomfortable within the connection or unsafe in any way. Even if they have spiritual interests, that is not an excuse to hold on to a toxic friendship or relationship of any kind. Period. End of story. I have a lot of clients who feel like, because they feel like they don't have a lot of friends within spirituality, that the ones who have the common spiritual interests are the ones that they need to hold on to, even if those friendships are not serving them in any way. Even if they feel like those friendships are ultimately draining of their time and energy, there's an unequal energetic match, they just don't feel comfortable or enjoy having fun hanging out with that person at all. But they've got spiritual interests, so it must be a soul-aligned friendship, right? No. Nope. Just because your old friend has an interest in spirituality doesn't mean they are a better match for you than somebody who doesn't have an interest in spirituality at all. You could actually have a better friendship and a better connection with somebody who is not interested in spirituality. For me, for example, my oldest best friend on the planet, we grew up across the street from each other. Maybe she'll watch this video, maybe she won't. But we've known each other our whole lives. We still continue to stay in each other's lives in different ways. We don't see each other all of the time. In fact, we only communicate a few times a year. Maybe I just saw her physically in person for the first time in a long time recently, because we don't live in the same town. And we don't share spiritual interests in common. She's not interested in the spiritual space. So, but we still managed to maintain a really awesome friendship. So, and I have met people who have spiritual interests in common that haven't been a good match for me on a friendship level. So just because there may be people in your life who have the spiritual interests in common, again, does not mean that they are going to be a good friend to you. Okay? So this is your permission slip to let those friendships fade away or fall away that feel like they're draining of your time and energy, that don't feel like a good match, that don't feel fun to you or light to you. So it's okay if you feel like you need to move on. Also, it's possible to outgrow people on your journey. You may outgrow friendships. You may even outgrow friendships quickly. I have had some friendships that have come into my life for a few months at a time. I learned a lot from that person, and then the friendship faded away. I have had friendships that have come in for a few years. Again, we've spent a lot of time together during those few years, and then those friendships needed to fall away or not be as present in my life. So you may outgrow your old friendships. And if you do, it's okay if that happens. Again, this doesn't need to be a conversation that you have to have with the other person, but honor yourself, honor your feelings about that. With all of this being said from this video, there can be a lot of emotions that come up with this topic. Perhaps you feel guilty with cutting off some old friendships that don't feel aligned with you anymore. And if you do, I want you to honor that guilt. Know that feeling guilty is normal, but also it's an old, outdated belief system. It's an old, outdated way of being where you were taught to believe that letting go of people was something to feel guilty about, that it's wrong to let go of people, or that it's wrong to move on within your relationships, and that you have to stay in a relationship until it's past its expiration date. So you may feel guilty saying no to people or letting people go. And again, I want to honor and validate you for that, and you knowing that that is a normal thing to feel. You may also feel some grief around this. You may feel a sense of sadness about letting go of old relationships where you're like, and trust me, it can feel really uncomfortable when you feel like you're outgrowing a whole group of people or a whole circle of friends. Perhaps you have a whole circle of friends from a certain part of your life and you've just moved on from that whole group. That can bring up a lot of grief because that can feel like I'm losing a lot of people. So again, honor yourself, validate yourself with how you're feeling around this topic. It can make us feel really uncomfortable. Friendships can feel really, really uncomfortable. It's also important, I feel called to say this, not to compare yourself to other people that you know in your life based on the amount of friendships that they seem to have, based on the amount of social groups, social networks that they seem to have. Maybe you have a friend that you watch on social media who is always out and about with people and groups of people and meeting new people and always has new friends in their life, and you're comparing yourself to their journey. I want you to let that go because your journey, your friendship journey is going to be different than everybody else's. And maybe you're meant to have a small amount of close friendships, and it's not important for you to have the large amounts of acquaintances in your life. So maybe your friendship journey is different from that person that you're watching on social media. And again, that's okay. So let yourself know that it's okay. The number of friends that you have in your life, it really doesn't matter. The number of close friendship connections that you have in your life, it doesn't matter. This is not a numbers game. It's important to have people in your life that you feel like you can rely on, that you can go to, that you can trust, that are trustworthy and loyal companions to you. And if you don't have those people, it's okay. I'm going to talk about that next and how to find new friendships within your life and how I have navigated that myself. So when it comes to finding new friendships, they can absolutely happen organically. Let's say, for example, so step one here is that it's important to see that we can have friendships both virtually and in person. So it is possible to maintain friendships virtually with people that we have not met physically in person, and also to create and maintain relationships with people that we have met in person, that do live in our city, that do live a few houses down from us or a short drive away. So having both types of friendships is important. You may have one more than the other, depending on where you live. So when it comes to creating, and you may decide too, which of the two groups, virtual or in person, you want more of in your life. Maybe you have a ton of in-person friends and you want more of those virtual connections, or vice versa. So when it comes, let's start with in-person friendships. In-person friendships can absolutely happen organically. However, you're going to need to get out of the house in order for those in-person friendships to happen. Let's say, for example, you decide that you feel drawn to checking out a local yoga studio that you've never been to before. You could meet someone there at that local yoga studio that you really resonate with, that feels like a really great friendship match for you. So friendships can happen organically. They can also happen when we take the time and energy to search for them. And I'm going to tell you how to do that as well in just a moment here. But for finding friendships organically, it is important that we take time out of our day or our weekend to get out of the house, whether that be exploring a local coffee shop, taking a fitness class or a fitness group class at a new studio that you've never been to. Maybe that's taking your dog for a walk in a dog park that you've never gone to before and actually striking up a conversation with someone, or maybe even going to the dog park that you always go to and striking up a conversation with somebody that you see there every single day that you would like to get to know better. With organic friendships, it does take a little bit of extroversion and outward effort to talk to people. And I know for the introverts out there, myself included, that can feel really, really uncomfortable. I did want to address this and say that it is possible to meet people organically. You are going to have those conversations. You are going to have to introduce yourself. If you live in a small town where there isn't a ton of spiritual opportunity, do a little Google searching. Maybe there may be 20 minutes away from where you live, there is a yoga studio that offers a group sound bath Reiki healing once a month. Check that out. I guarantee you the practitioner is going to love that you're there. You may meet somebody in the group. You may meet everybody in the group and have the best time. So you may have to search in neighboring towns to find places like that where you can go. So check out the local spiritual shops, check out the local yoga studios, the local healing studios. I know a lot of holistic health centers and healing centers are offering more in-person workshops now that the pandemic is over. So checking out and doing some Google searching around some of those local events could be really helpful and really, really, really beneficial to you. If you have the privilege of living in a city like I do, there's definitely going to be a lot of opportunities there. So checking them out. If you live in a really small town, by the way, and there's one yoga studio that's 20 minutes away and they don't offer workshops, tell the teacher, say, hey, I would love if, and I know that this is the only yoga studio within 20 miles of our small town, like I would love to see you offering some sort of workshop here. I would love to have the chance to get to know people with spiritual interests. Would you be open to that? Not all yoga teachers are spiritual, by the way. I just felt called to say that. But for some reason, yoga studios and studios tend to have a lot of workshop-y type things where you can go to meet people. Your local library may even have meetups. There's also meetup.com. It can be a really great place to find local events. And definitely check social media. There can be so many different businesses that offer spiritual events that you may not even be aware of. So taking advantage of those, showing up, maybe bringing a friend with you if you already have somebody who's interested in this sort of thing can help you to meet new people. But put yourself out there. If you are really desiring more in-person friendships, you're going to have to get out. You're going to have to be seen. You're going to have to say hi to people. And it may take a couple times of going back to the same thing for you to really find your groove and to feel comfortable enough in order to put yourself out there. So take your time with that. For me personally, I have found the most success with in-person friendships in particular, with finding people online through social media and then scheduling time to meet with them in person. One of my closest, best spiritual friends ever, I met her through a class that we were taking online at the same time. And it just so happens that the two of us lived in the same city. We met through the online class, and then we messaged each other and said, like, hey, let's get lunch, let's meet up. And that led to a great conversation, which led to a really beautiful friendship. So meeting people online and then meeting them in person can also be a great way to make in-person friendships. So finding virtual communities, maybe you're finding a virtual community, and I have virtual communities of my own that you can check out, like my Embodied Priestess group program, for example. Those sort of online group experiences can lead you to meeting the right people. Groups are always led together for a reason. So meeting the right people, that can end up being really great lifelong friendships for you. I also met a lot of spiritual friends in my city through connecting with people through Instagram who I knew were in my city, who had these similar interests. I have messaged them on Instagram, seeing that they're in my city and saying, hey, like, I see that you're in the city. Are you looking? I would love to meet up with you for a coffee just to chat. And I've been trying to manifest new in-person friendships. Are you open to that? And by the way, that phrase is great for making new friends, saying to people, because spiritual people get it. You can say, I've been trying to manifest more in-person friends. Would you be open to getting a coffee with me or lunch with me, in the next couple of weeks? People love that. They are likely feeling the same way as you. Most likely, people are going to not die, but are going to be so excited that you are reaching out to connect with them. So give it a try. Give it a try. You never know what can happen. If they say no or they're too busy, it's just not a good match. Anyway, you can move on. Try messaging someone else. Most of us, especially on Instagram, have our city listed, or if you go to stories or our highlight reel, you can see the local places we've been to, and that can tell you whether or not somebody lives in your city. Send them a message. Seriously, do it. You will be surprised at how many friends you can make that way. It's so much fun. So that's a really great way that I have met a lot of in-person friendships, but don't undervalue the importance of virtual connections. I have virtual friends here in the United States. I have virtual friends in Canada. I have virtual friends all over the world, Australia, etc., that I have never met in person, and that still manage to be really great relationships that I can turn back to again and again. So having virtual friendships, don't underestimate them. They can be great to have as well. All it takes is sending someone a message to say hey, to spark that conversation, to say hello. And you never know what it could lead to, you guys. This process can just be so much fun. And it may even lead to you creating your own new group of friends. I have connected groups of people within the Philly community that I have met separately, which has been so cool. So that can absolutely be something that happens for you as well. But you do have to put yourself out there. And if you are feeling uncomfortable with putting yourself out there even a little bit, there may be some healing work for you to do around why that is. Perhaps you're fearing abandonment or rejection, and where that's coming from. Getting to the root of that will really help you with feeling more comfortable and confident getting out and about and talking to people in the spiritual community. So I hope that this video helped you. I hope it brought you a sense of relief about some of the friendships in your life. I hope that you learned a lot. Friendships are important. We are not meant to be on this journey alone. And the more that we can build and nurture our friendships and our relationships from a place of authenticity and connection and vulnerability, the more that we are going to enjoy this human experience. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, if you resonated with this content and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I'm sending you so much love.